I'm Muse, and this is,
Hi, I'm Lenneth.
and we are going to talk about, in this panel, we are going to talk about
How
some
he
of,
usually tries to kill me. Yeah. No, seriously. You'll find out later.
as I was saying, so this panel, we're going to talk about some of our shoot that we done. I sort of classified them in ways how I approach them. The idea is that how we would go about shooting, how I would prepare doing a shoot from the photographer side, whereas and then how she would prepare from like a cosplayer side point of view. And now I got this clicker thing. I just click it and it should just, ooh, yeah, this is pretty cool. Yeah. So that's the cover page, and if I press this, and I press it. Oh, okay. So the first shoot we're gonna be talking about is Leia. First of all, anyone here knows about Leia? Anybody? Like, I mean, just like the series Leia. Like, anybody know what is it from? What it's about? Okay, so Leia is the song from Vocaloid, and the character Leia is this girl that the artist painted in the painting. And the song or the story goes is that the artist likes the painting so much that he falls in love with it, but because it's just a painting, like so it's not able to communicate back to him. It doesn't talk or anything, so he gets so emo and upset that he ended up just cut his eye out. Yeah, it's a really interesting song that I decided to use to shoot. Now, when I approach this series, my thought is that I sort of imagine that what it's like to be Leia, to be inside the painting, like what it's like to be the world inside the painting, and I just imagine that to be a world where there's no gravity, everything is free floated, like there's just bright color and everything going about it, and to do that, I will show you about how like on the next I will show you like my thoughts on the setup. Okay, so well this shoots I just use some very simple technique or the setup is actually very straightforward. I basically decide to build a 10 feet by 10 feet cube, and then I covered that with white fabric as the first layer to help diffuse the light. And then I cover it with black fabric as the second layer to block out the light because the black fabric is there because it's going to be an outside shoot. It's most likely going to be lasting for a few hours, and I want to take the sun into consideration when it's straight on during the prime time. That's going to be really harsh, so I want to have it diffuse. I want to use the black one to completely block it out, and so that the brightness will be even throughout the whole shoot. After that, I just toss the whole thing in the water, submerge it. There was a funny story that because Leia is a painting, so I was thinking about going with the canvas feel, and I decided to get a bunch of 10 feet by like 10 by 2 wood stick, like about like this thick. And I just I got like a bunch of them, and then I used a nail and I hammered it into like a cube. And when I tossed it into water, I realized that wood actually floats on water, so the cube wouldn't go into the water. So I was just like, bad idea. And I had to drag the whole thing out and then buy a PVC pipe and connect the whole thing back again. It was fun. It took like a day or something to get everything set up. Yeah.
As for me, actually, the costume construction wasn't too difficult because it was quite a straightforward and simple black dress. But it was rather fun to actually make the frame, which I think you see later, because it's like that. From his idea was that I needed to make a picture frame that. Wait, are you showing it?
Yeah.
No, that
Oh,
does
the
not
picture
have.
frame? Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, it was like a simple like wood frame. I just put together, pin on a fabric, and just added on the flowers myself. But because he wanted the idea of me emerging from it, so I actually had to like first like make a hole like right in the middle, and then before I just like put off put on some flowers. I mean, on my side, it wasn't too difficult, but it was more of carrying it off, which we'll talk about more later.
Like I'll try not to go too much into like I'm not trying not to go too much into the technical aspect. Like I won't try not to say anything like say, oh, I'm gonna take this shot and I like 100 ISO or 200 ISO or this is gonna be like 20 shutter or like whatever that is, because whatever like the setting is, because to me that's not really the important aspect of the shoot. The aspect of shoot is really of why you do this, why you shoot it, like the why you want to shoot it this way, and setting is just something that you came up with like on the spot, or you just look at the preview and go, okay, maybe I want to be a little darker, okay, the thing's going a little too fast, maybe I want a faster shutter speed. I mean, me personally, I am very bad with the technical thing. If you ask me like, oh, what's the shutter speed you use in this room like in the afternoon when like 2 o'clock setting, I'll be like, I have no idea. I'll take a shot and I'll look at it and go, okay, let me change the shutter a little bit. I mean, like that's how bad I am with the technical aspect. And honestly, I think it's something that is good to know, that you should know about at least a little bit, just like the basic, like if you're shooting motion object, you want a really fast shutter speed. If the sun is out really, like the sun is really strong, you want to maybe like tune up, like change up the f-stop a little bit. But other than that, like don't get too involved in that, because in the end it's not what setting you use, it's more of what works the best at the situation at that time. And let me click on next one. It feels so weird, like all this high tech. The last one I did was I had to use my little notebook here and I had to click it automatically. Here, I just decided to use a bunch of fabric. They're like, you got it from Joann, like maybe like $1 a yard, $2 a yard. The idea is that it's light, it's somewhat visible, so that you can see there's layer, there's depth to it, and you just kind of like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh under the water, and yeah, there's not really much fancy. I don't feel there's like too fancy stuff in it.
Yeah, because for this one actually, it was a little difficult on my end because there was something about not trying to not be tangled up in the fabric, because it's just swirling like around you, and fabric usually when you just throw in the water it becomes a clump. It doesn't have that nice flow, so it was hard to have to like juggle with like I think it was like 4 different fabrics, and also to keep my pose. So for me that was the hard part. Yeah.
One thing I'd like to add is that underwater shoot is one of those things that there's only so much you can really do as a photographer, as in like, because you can't communicate underwater. So most of the thing you can do is just say, okay, I want you to go in and then kind of expand yourself, like move your arms like this. Like you can kind of describe to them what you want, but it's not like in the actual shoot on the above water where you go, oh, move your hands up a little bit, okay, twist a little bit, and whatnot. It's all really up to you heavily rely on what your model can do. Like, are they able to, submerge in the water and then keep it still? I have shot with model where they go in the water and just come right back up. And that's not really good, because when you're moving really fast and underwater, your hair, your clothes, they'll get pulled really fast. You'll see them being like pulled down like this, and it just doesn't look it doesn't give you that elegant feel to it. So it almost feels like every time when you shoot underwater, each picture is in a way like really unique, because you just can't replicate it. They're just really hard with all the other like element taken into consideration. And this one is sort of like the setup of the first picture with the flower, everything and stuff. And as you can see, there's the cube, there's the water line. She's underwater, and she just sort of had to pull herself down. On the bottom, there's a few bricks that I use with the white fabric, just kind of tying to the knot. She basically hook it on with her feet to pull herself down, and then using her hand to sort of pull the frame down too, and just kind of like keep that posture for like maybe 10 seconds.
I think the difficult part was that it's kind of like natural reaction that when you're about to go underwater, most people will take a deep breath of air before you submerge, right? But for underwater photography, it's different because you actually have to exhale as much as you can. Then you go underwater, and you are able to stay underwater for in your position for a longer period of time without having to float up. So that was really difficult on my hand because you just because every time when you surface, you're just gasping for air. You're just like really exhausted. Yeah, and I think we had this shoot going for like 3 to 5 hours.
Yeah, there was a lot of interesting happening in that shoot. The water preventive gear that I had at that time was a new one, and water accidentally got in the camera, so it wasn't acting up, and I was like, oh my god, what did I do now? And I tried to salvage it at that point, like going back home, get my old camera out, then realize that it's out of battery, and then had the battery charger. And luckily, in the end, that I guess after 3 hours, the water kind of dried out and it was workable again. But I still had to send it in for repair, and it cost me like an arm and a leg for the repair. But that's not the important part. The important part is we got a good shot. That's what really important. There's a lot of things. A lot of time we do shoots that involve a lot of investment in terms of setup or traveling and whatnot, and it really just comes down to wanting to get a good shots. There's not really much other way I can explain to it. A lot of people ask me, hey, for example, the whole setup cost maybe like $300, I would say, including like all the woods fabric, because we now had to get the white fabric. It was about 20 yard, and then the black fabric is also 20 yard, and then the wood, the PVC pipe, everything else combined. The fake flower, those are cheaper. They were sold on dollar store, but because we need like about 70 of them, so anyway, that's just the detail. Sorry. So this one I want to include it in, and is that if you notice that while they're the same series, the post-processing style is a little bit different. Because this shot was post-processed by Lynette, while the other shots were post-processed by me. And I want to use that as an example, is that a lot of time, even both the photographer and the model want to work on the same series. We had the same idea, we had the same execution, but our post-processing style, it still can be vastly different. Everyone innately has a different preference in how saturated color should be, how much contrast, how's the flow and whatnot. And a lot of time I'll hear people, some of my friends arguing, saying like, oh no, it should be like my way is like the correct way. No, like my way is correct. It should be edited this way. And I just want to say that there's no really like a right way or a wrong way in terms of picking out the shots and editing the shots. It's really just come down to, because everybody has their own preference. It's just as long as something that both of the people can agree on, and it still has that same fit to the series, then I think it's fine. Anyone any question on this part?
No?
Yes.
So for those diagrams, I'm assuming that you're drawing the diagrams and figuring out what the pictures look like before you buy all the materials. Or did you draw that after for this presentation?
I sort of draw it.
Okay. I have to clarify. Those drawings were by me because his drawings are like crappy. So he wanted to use his original drawings for this presentation. So I'm just like, no one's gonna understand you. Let me do it.
Yeah, I'm quite infamous among my friends that I do draw setup and ideas before shoots. Just unfortunately, most of my friends can't understand what I drew.
Yeah.
I try to explain to it. They're like, that doesn't look anything at it. I did include the original manuscript on some of the shots later on. It sounds all fancy. Original manuscript. No, just scribbles and scribble. You'll see it later, and you kind of get an idea what I mean on that.
Yeah, but one thing to notice that because he isn't from from an art major too. So it's like he can basically just draw like stick figures. So I'm just like, yeah, you know, but your stick figures need to be a little more legit.
Yeah, I can't really draw. I mean, I'm not really like, I'm not from an art background. I never really touched anything art related until maybe when I started cosplay 7 years ago, and really didn't develop on it until maybe 3 years ago when I focused on like the photography aspect. So yeah, but it's okay though. I mean, nowadays you don't really have to draw. You just stick figure is fine. Yeah. Okay, so Leia was an example of doing a lot of setup on a costume to get like all fancy and not fancy. I'll say like Leia would be like a shoot. I would say where we put a lot the resources in terms of doing like a setup for the shot. Then Zero, on the other hand, is a completely different series. Whereas it's a series where we basically shot the same character on a variety of different locations. And I want to talk about, I thought it was worth mentioning because that it can kind of show, I will say as a photographer, a lot of time you would encounter people ask you to shoot a series from a series, and then maybe in a few days, your other friend will ask you to shoot from the same series, and you just end up shooting, maybe 20 Miku from the same song. And how do you separate it? How do you make them feel different? How do you make them don't feel like just exact the same, just different people in the costume? Zero, because so I would say the first one, the first Zero is. Oh no, go back. Okay, so this one is Zero from Drakengard 3. Anyone know about this series? Yes. Yes. Anyone else? Okay, so in short, it's a game where Zero, the main protagonist, goes out and tries to kill all five of his sisters in order to save the world, sort of. Yeah. It's not a very lighthearted kind of game, a little bloody and whatnot, action-ish. The first picture here is taken at parking lot in Anime Expo. It was sort of like a quick 20-minute session before she got in line for the autograph session. Because a lot of time when she put on a costume, she we want to have like a picture, so makes sense that you put on a costume. Because a lot of time you spend like 2 to 3 hours just to put on a costume, and it really should have a nice shots or something to show that I did put this on and whatnot.
Yeah. For this shot, I feel a lot for it because it's like if you play the game, she jumps a lot, she runs around, and you can literally feel the flow of her fabrics. And so it's like I wanted a shot that could not only show her expression, but the flow of her fabrics, and also did I say expression? I think I did. Yeah. Okay. But basically, for this shot, you can ask him. I tried to spin for like at least 20 times because he's like one more time, another time, like one more time, and she's on really, really steep hills as well. So it's like there were quite a few times it's like I kind of like stumbled a bit, but at the very end it's like even though it was hard to capture a shot, but if the end result is satisfying, I think it's really worth it. And so is that for me, I really love this shot. Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of the, I guess I should talk about the setup. So I got one flash on the left, one flash on the right, one flash above her face as the main light. The idea is that since I am at the parking lot, there's just like a very unicolor grayish tone wall, or whether or not it has texture. Luckily it had texture, so it feels more not so plain. And then, because she's basically white, and so I think the contrast really make her stand out. And plus the fabric, the outfit itself has like a long rope, like long, what do you call those? Oh, long sleeve and skirtish thing. So it makes, so it's good that so if I using like a different light coming from different angle, it sort of help give you that contrast, have a little depth, feel of
you can
depth,
see the different layers.
like different layer. If I just have like one light, if you just have like one light or two lights straight on, it will make it everything kind of blend together. 哦，它是自动调回左右的。And again, like this, like she mentioned earlier, for this shot is basically it's just go spin, 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 and spin until you get the shot. You feel like, okay, this is something nice. This is like I got the movement and of the fabric.
Sometimes he says it so often that he says it in between. So it's like while I'm spinning, I'm spinning.
Well, because you know a lot of time when you take the shot, you're like, oh, that look, okay, spin again, wait, again, no, wait, again. I mean, the amount of time you spend usually really just come down to, you know, there's just two factors. Like one, did you get the shot you wanted? And two, how much do you like the person? If you don't really like them, you can just tell them to spin like a few more times.
I guess he doesn't like me very much.
Yeah. You know, sometimes, for some reason, sometimes I wonder why my friend doesn't really like to shoot with me. Okay, so in the game of Drakengard 3, there's part where the character actually gets charged up, like kind of like you get like an energy bar that charges up, and you go Super Saiyan, and the game basically shows that the more charge up you have, the more blood you have on you. So for this shoot, we decided. So I really wanted to do something bloody, and I want to find like a really suitable background for it to resemble the stage, which is called they call it church city. So it's basically grooming white kind of bricks and walls kind of building.
Yeah. It's apparently like a rundown city, so it was difficult to find something in our area that actually looks even something similar. So he actually went onto Google and just put in some keywords, and he did manage to find some locations in at least the region, as in like in Northern California. We live in Southern California, so this was really a really YOLO trip.
I want to call it a YOLO. It was more of just like, when it comes to picking your location, a lot of time besides what you already know, nowadays Google are like your best friend. You just, you want to look for like a Victorian place, you want to go like, like factory, just Google. A lot of time Google image, or like they will show you something, you can come up with something. But again, like this one is, like she said, somewhat YOLO, because when I found the location online, the only picture I can found was from an article that was 10 years ago. And when I called so at the end I had to call like the city council to make sure the places still exist, and of course like permits and all that kind of like stuff. And everything kind of settled. We just go, okay, let's go. So drove like we drove about like 7 hours the day before. We made like 6 gallons of fake blood, and the receipt of fake blood was really weird. It was like mixed with peanut butter and laundry detergent, so they gave this like really interesting and weird smell to it.
Yeah. It was supposed to not be stainable, but I actually made like a second set of costume just for this, just in case, because like the original one that I did, it actually has designs on the skirting and all, but just for the blood shoot, I just made an extra one that does not have the designs, because it's like I was telling him that the concept is to get all bloodied up, so there wouldn't really be a reason for me to still draw them on. And also I think it was just hard because it's like too many times when my friend is just like splashing me with the fake blood, and like some of it like got into my eye too, so that was quite painful. Yeah, but like tomorrow for my own panel, I'll be talking more about Zero, like how I made her costume, and basically my process of her costume. So if you guys are interested, do feel free to come take a look tomorrow.
And to continue on, so I guess a lot of time you just have to take a chance. I mean, it looks like the place exists, so we got there, and after like a day trip, that it does exist. So luckily everything worked out fine. But a lot of time, it's just in my mind that if it didn't work out, it didn't exist, then the worst it could happen is just like I lose a day of work. And a lot of time is photography is about really these location shoots really about just taking chances, because a lot of shots you really cannot aren't really able to do it at any other location. Like picture this shots and then just like a white wall behind it. It wouldn't give you that feeling. It wouldn't give you that the overall. Because I feel like in the photo, there's your model, there's the model's movement, there's your decoration, and then there's a background. Like everything has to be sort of related to make it feel unified, so it doesn't feel weird or awkward. And for this series, this is the first, again, like it was the first time I got there and I've never been there before. And it really helps. A lot of time when we shoot on a lot of our location shoot is I've never been there before. It's really a lot of times just the first time adventure, try it out and stuff. And I feel what really helped was sort of just our shooting style is kind of like just walk. I found something interesting. I feel something architecture looks good. I'll be okay. Stand there. Okay, spin there. Okay, make a like jump over from here and there. I guess it really it helps to sort of prepare. Like if once you get used to the flow of working with different architecture, different environment constantly, it just sort of helped your mind into that mindset where you just sort of find composition as you go. These we did like a pre-drawing, but mostly were just more of the action, because we really want to focus on the action aspect, the battle aspect. So there's more discussion into like the posting for the action, like posting on the action itself instead of having like an actual layout, like say, like I want to have her stand here with the wall right here and that kind of setup. And again, like a different location. This one was taken earlier this year. The reason why was because there's a snow stage in the game. So I just figured like there's a snowing stage, we should shoot it in snow.
Yeah, it's really as simple as that.
Yeah.
It's in a desert. Okay, we go to a desert to shoot. It's near the ocean. Okay, let's just go to an ocean area and shoot. It's really as simple as that.
A lot of time when we make our decision on picking a location or decide how to do that shoot, really just as simple as, the game has snow, let's think of something with snow. Oh, the game has desert, let's think of something in desert. The game takes place in the forest, let's see what we can find on the forest. There's not really something fancy about on that. And a lot of time it's just, I guess when people ask you, it's like, hey, why you decide to shoot here? It's like, I don't know, the game has it, that's why I shoot there. Again, the snow was, we had to wait there for a while because California doesn't really snow. We really just doesn't snow. And there was really that time frame that we had to wait till this year to go up. And again, it's just about the scenery. Like, I just feel like you can't really get that feel without having to shoot and having in that location itself.
And I think I decided to go with the snow shoot right after shooting the Cathedral City part. This is a really painful shoot because it's like I'm very lightly clothed, and so and I come from a tropical country, so I'm not really used to like cold environments. So it was very hard on my end to shoot because I was just freezing. So most of the time it's like, yeah, I look calm here, but not more than like 5 seconds before he has to like throw like I think 3 thick blankets over me. It was also dangerous because it's like for that shot, I think it was just like 2 steps behind me is the cliff. So, and he actually wanted to put like a two-step ladder over there and asked me to stand up from there. He would take from a low angle. He asked me to jump off that. I'm just like, are you kidding? I said, are you kidding?
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of time when everything looks really fine and secure from my point of view, it just turns out not. Any has any question on this part? Yes.
So when you figure out like what poses and things you want to shoot, do you do you ever have references with you, or do you just kind of do it like
We just act on the spot.
A lot of time,
Yeah, a lot of
I
times.
have reference. Like I have a little notebook that I draw all my drawing on, and I usually brought it with me. And a lot of times I just forget about taking them out when I'm in that moment in the zone. And I guess for me, it's just that a lot of time when I shoot a series, I would think about a lot of composition. What kind of goes through my mind when I'm not just kind of daydreaming, or when I'm just not doing anything, or just waiting for traffic light and stuff. You just sort of like, it's just composition kind of ideas just pop up sometimes, and then just write it down. And but because you usually don't know how the shooting condition is until you're there. Like the snowshoe, for example, I never been to that location in my life before. I never knew how it is going to look like, what light it is going to be at that time of day. So it just helps that you have a huge library of thoughts and ideas, and you just sort of pick them out and see which one fits at the spot.
Yeah, and I didn't expect myself to just be walking. Oh, this nice scenery, and I just fell like tree, and I just like walked into a loose snow, and I was like half buried, and I was just like freaking out. So he was like, he
I
had
saw
to
the
like pull me
floor,
out.
and then I didn't know the snow actually came out to here. So when she stepped on it, she just
I was
sank
like,
right
oh,
in.
really nice. Boom.
Yeah, I guess it was the same from cosplaying as a cosplayer, that like before the shoot you will have reference to what kind of pose you want and stuff, and you just sort of like draw it into your head and just you pick out the one that's more suitable for that spot.
I think from my side as a cosplayer, it's like usually before I even begin a shoot, it's like what runs through my head are really just like the screenings of either the anime or the game or whichever my character is from, and then I'll just try to look at myself in their point of view, and throughout the shoot I will just be within that character, at least for during that time frame, and right after that I'm just like back to my sluggish self. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, a lot of times I have to compare photography to like cooking. In this sense, a lot because cooking is like you got your ingredient, you got your cooking method, and then you got the final product, final dish. And sometimes you decide that, oh, I'm gonna cook Asian tonight, so you go out and buy like the Asian ingredient. And some other time you have to look at your fridge and see, oh, this is what I have available, so this is what I can do. So there's no, so it's hard to say like, oh, sometimes you do. So sometimes I did a pure design, sometimes I just came up to it on the spot. So next I'm gonna talk about Terror in Tokyo, Zakyo in Tokyo. If Leia is a shoot where you spend a lot of time on building the set, and Zero is going out finding the different location to have it set apart. Terror in Tokyo will be the set where I feel is really more about the conceptual and the emotion of the series that I try to tap into. As you can see it before you, I believe that's my pre-sketches. As you can see, it's not very pretty. I know a few of you are trying to laugh. I can tell. You don't have to hold back. It's okay. Yeah, it was just like, I mean, it's not that hard to understand, right? You guys can read it, right? No.
No. See, everyone's on my side.
Okay. So Terror in Tokyo, anyone knows of Terror in Tokyo? Zakyo no Tokyo. Anyone have seen the series? One?
Zankyo.
Zakyo. Two? Yes.
Yay.
Yes. So Zankyo is one of those series that, well, it takes place in Tokyo, and so a lot of scenery are really Tokyo only. That you just can't find it anywhere else in the state. So my option of trying to find a suitable background is already out of question. And so what I decided to do. Okay.
That was the second one.
Oh, that was the second one? Okay, that's okay. Let's skip. Okay. So what I did decide to do it differently for Zankyo is I want to go for more conceptual idea. I wanted to pick out scenes that I feel was really, at least when I watch it from this like scenes like each different episode that it really stand out to me. Like it really hit me really emotionally. Those of you who watch the series can probably understand that it's a very traumatizing series in a way because it really just hit your heart like really strong. So the whole shoot was done in the studio with I think just like a white wall and a black wall, and it was done in 3 hours, I would say, for all the shots. So first one is Vong, which is I decided to try out the projectile style where you just kind of project the letter out. As you can, this is sort of set up. It's actually very simple and straightforward. You just get a cardboard, you carve all the letter you want, and then use a flash to kind of. We got 5 minutes? Okay. Okay, so I'll be really fast. And this one is, I want to get that feeling where you kind of reminiscing the set. It was an interesting shoot because we had no assistant. I mean, a lot of time when we shoot, we don't have an assistant. I guess I overused my friendship token to all my friends. So every time I call them, like, hey, you're busy this weekend? You're like, no. I think they'll be like, yeah, I'm busy. And I'll call another guy and say, hey, you want to help me on a shoot this weekend? No. So this shot, let me have her tell you like how we took this shot.
It was basically like a handful of feathers. Okay, ready? Basically, it was like that.
It was interesting because we had the fog machine in the background. So I myself I had to go press the fog machine and then run back and go, okay, ready, toss. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a lot of times our shoots are really just like like just both of us just, creating stuff and just doing stuff on our own.
Yeah. For this series, I really want to focus on just. I mean, a lot of time when I shoot, I like to take the angle where like those that watch the series will have an idea of what the picture is meant to be, and those who didn't really watch the series will be like, what the hell is this? What is that supposed to be? Just guy with the little thing with the little fog and smoke coming out and stuff. But to me, I feel it's more enjoyable to find someone that, oh, so you know about what this picture means. Okay, so I'm not the only weird guy here.
So to those who watched, do you have an idea like what were we trying to do here? You do, right? Okay, because it's like in the series, it's like basically there were quite a lot of terrorisms that were done by the two of them. So we wanted to conceptualize something that actually feels like a little bit more like an explosion sort of feeling.
Yeah,
Is it?
there's because the series goes sort of like they sort of introduce themselves as the terrorists, and then later on their identity, and then also their past, and like of course there's a lot of death and here and there. So
Yeah.
that's why each series like combined together was. I'm hoping that it did project that feeling.
Yeah,
that
because
I
there's a
wanted.
lot of life and death in this series. That's why the dark mood that we are trying to create.
It's one of those series that after you watch it, it makes you emo for like 2 weeks. You don't want to talk to nobody. So yeah, this one again, both of them just go, okay, toss your feather, 1, 2, 3, toss, and then click, toss, click. And you can sort of have this is sort of rough idea of the setup with the flash and whatnot. This one was basically they're laying down where I stand above, and I just drop the feather while I take the shot. This one actually came out as a surprise. That because originally I wanted to have like the fog in the back, so it'd be like all dreamy and stuff. But the machine wasn't working, and then this one turns out to be more close to how I feel like it's closer to what I want to express. So, any question? Yes.
You had mentioned earlier that when you were doing some of your photo shoots, you actually had to get permits. I've seen a lot of other people who are kind of like getting into it. They usually choose like a wooded scenery or something that's like around their home. But when you actually have to start doing like public locations, when is it like I can just show up and do my thing versus I actually have to go through the process of like going through the city?
Oh, okay. The only process I actually had to go to the city was more of the zero one, is because the number one I didn't know that it exists and not, and I don't have an idea like how to get access to it and whatnot. And typically on these rundown places, for safety reason, it's best to notify the local department, and not so much of a permit. It's more of just like they have an idea that you're there, so you're not really like, they don't think of you as like trespassing, and also for safety, because the location that we're there was actually a police on the side sort of accompany us, because that location turns out to be a lot of people sometimes go up there to do drug and stuff, and we were kind of creeping people out with a sword and then like gallons and gallons of fake blood and just like walking down.
No, actually, no. Remember there was that incident whereby we were shooting halfway, and suddenly another police car actually came in, and we were like, what happened? And so that policeman was telling us that a neighbor called because she saw a bunch of people walking in, and she thought that we were going to do drugs. And I was dressed like that. I was just like, really? Really? Okay.
Usually in terms of permit and fees and whatnot, it really vary by location. Generally, just from me speaking from my experience in California, I don't know because regulation varies between each city and state. Most of the public park are free. Most of the city buildings are free. It is only really when you're getting to like those more like exotic locations like hotel, Victorian-ish hotel building, or like Japanese garden, Oriental garden, those places, then they do try to ask you for like a fee or not. Usually the place that does also offer as wedding photography, they will definitely ask you for a permit and ask you for payment, because if they let you to shoot there and then they don't charge you, then they can't really answer to the other clients that does wedding photography, and those people have to pay a lot.